Yesterday, Sayadaw spoke about the easiest object to be observed when sitting. He spoke about how to note this object, and he started the topic. Today he will speak about it completely, combining theory and practice. Meditation practice, practicing the Dhamma, is so that there will be self-control in one's life, for one's whole life. If one doesn't pay attention to this, there won't be self-control. We can't just trust in a powerful being to save us, just living however we like without any self-control. If we trust in another powerful being to save us, then we won't develop our own individual power. Our powers will be weak. And this is because of trusting in something that is not trustworthy. So one should consider how one's own personal power is stunted, is undeveloped when one trusts in someone else to just save one. In the world, mostly humans want a comfortable life, and they don't realize that in their own being, ordinary wanting, or lobha, greed, selfishness, and extreme greed, they don't realize that these things give us trouble. And they don't know how to have an attitude of metta, the attitude of wanting others to be well. For selfish people, there is no meaning to wanting another person's welfare. So, but when one is unselfish, it's natural to want another's welfare. It's natural to want others not to suffer. And these qualities of metta and karuna, loving kindness and compassion, can turn us into a true human being. So we should have confidence in this. And we should also have confidence that with these two qualities of metta and karuna, loving kindness and compassion, that being a true human being, there won't be problems for us due to having these qualities. We should trust in that. In the world, selfishness is at an extreme level, and therefore one person and another, they can't understand each other. One group and another group can't understand each other. And between countries in the world, there's an inability to understand each other, because people are only able to see from their own selfish viewpoint. They're only able to see the needs of their group or their country. Real compassion is virtually non-existent. Only if we can have these attitudes of wanting other people to be well, wanting the welfare of others, and only if we can have the wish of not wanting others to suffer, only then will we have real world peace. So because there is not any ability people have virtually no ability to reflect in this way. This lack of being able to reflect like this is the cause for people of the world to be destroyed. People who let their minds just go freely like this don't pay any attention to their environment, to what is around them. The one that people love the most is the one that we love the most is ourself. And this is what is most important, to love oneself. So if one loves oneself, then what is needed? What do we need to do? We need to guard ourselves so that we don't do things that are wrong, so that we're not in the wrong. The Buddha said that if you really love yourself, you should protect yourself well. And to protect oneself well means to be able to live free of fault, to be able to live free of blame. Atanang se piang. Mama. Nale bari pia. Mama, so sorry.
Koko sao ka. Poko pidala on body. Koko sao pa da saluda po.
So the Buddha said, Atanang se piang sinya, rekeya nan surekitang. So it means that if one considers oneself dear, if one loves oneself, then one should protect oneself so that one is really well protected. And as Sayadaw said, that means one should live in a way that is free of fault and free of blame. That's what amounts to being well protected. There's a method for living like a true human being, a method for developing a pure and humane heart, and for developing special human knowledge. If one is a human being, this is what one should do. Of course, everyone has to get an education, learn a skill, make a living, get enough to eat, get enough to clothe themselves, take care of themselves. Everyone has to do that, and there's nothing special about that. But what we have to try to do is to try to live like a human being, a true human being, to try to have a humane attitude, a humane heart, and to try to develop special human knowledge. If we're a human being, we should try to do this. For oneself, for one's family, if we don't make effort to learn a skill and to make a living, then we won't get paid. And if we don't get paid, we won't have enough to live on, to feed ourselves, to clothe ourselves. If we work, we get paid. And if we use what we earn in a moderate way, then it's not hard to live. We have enough to get along. And most people think that and living, having friends and so on, most people think that this type of material well-being is enough. But in fact, just having enough to live on is not what makes us, is not what gives us a truly human life. Accordingly, no matter how much education we get, no matter how much money we have, no matter how good our health, no matter how wide a circle of friends and connections we have, these things can't make us a true human being. They can't give us a humane heart, and they can't give us special human knowledge. So we need to understand this in an ordinary way. In countries that give a lot of priority to material development, just look at the condition of teenagers in such countries. Because of placing an emphasis on material well-being, young people are quite immoral, just having the idea that it's enough to live freely, just live for the moment, live however you want. A result of this attitude is the immorality and the condition of young people today. So the fact that people are starting to realize that living just as you want, living with complete freedom, is not enough. There needs to be, one needs to have good human qualities in order to be a good person. The sign that this is a good sign for the world that people are starting to understand this. The Buddha used the word sekha, or training in Pali. Sekha, the trainings which make us a true human being, which make our mind truly humane, and which bring special human knowledge. One who wants to have a better life searches for the methods, ways to do so. And the Buddha searched for and found these trainings and left them behind for us. First of all, we need to study, we need to learn how is it that we become a true human being. What is the method for making the mind humane? What is the method for developing special human knowledge? So we have to study, first of all. And when we learn, having learned about these methods, there should be a real desire to actually do this for ourselves, to become a true human being, to develop our mind so that it is pure, humane, and to develop special human knowledge. When one knows there's a way to do this, then there should be a desire to actually do it. And therefore, the Buddha taught these methods. And so for people who want to have a high standard of living, to be well off, Sayadaw is speaking little by little every day about the methods the Buddha taught. And this is so that when people hear about it and then they feel, yes, that's right. This is probable. This sounds true to me. So hearing about the Dhamma, listening to this is so that we can wake up the desire, the trust in the Dhamma, and the desire to get the results. If one has these as a base, then one will try. If one knows that there's a way and one has the desire to get the results, then one will make the effort. One will give up what one has at the moment and make full effort to learn these practices, to put their effort into trying. And to the extent that one applies oneself to the practice in this wholehearted way, based on having the desire to gain the results, respect for the practice, careful practice, and continuity will automatically occur. If one doesn't have this base of understanding that there are these methods, that they are for these three things, if one doesn't have the trust in this and the desire to gain the results, without this, one won't work effectively, and it will be just a waste of time. So Sayadaw does not want us to waste our time, and therefore he's speaking about this again. There are 5 factors or 5 qualities of a person who is able to make their life better in this very life. And Sayadaw will speak about the first 3 of these 5. One should have the goal of making oneself a true human being, of developing a humane heart and mind, a humane attitude, and of developing special human knowledge. There's a way to do this, and having heard about it, one should have faith in this, as well as desire to gain these results. So the first factor that one needs is trust and confidence. If one doesn't have this trust and confidence, then one won't do the work at all. If one is half-hearted, half-believing, half-trusting, then one won't apply oneself fully. Sayadaw is not forcing you to trust or to have faith, but he's tried to mention what the benefits are of the practice. And hearing this, there should be faith as well as the desire to get the results, to make oneself a true human being with a humane heart and mind, with special human knowledge. So this is number 1, trust and confidence, also called faith. The second factor needed is health. In this day and age, no one has really good health, but one should have enough to do the practice. This is not a fixed, there's not a fixed amount of health that one needs to have. Some people are not healthy, and they can practice to gain the Dhamma, and they also cure their illnesses. But it's better if you're healthy. The third quality is that one has to be honest and frank. One has to be able to reveal one's faults when it's appropriate to the appropriate person. One shouldn't try to hide one's faults in that situation. One shouldn't pretend that one has qualities one doesn't possess. So if one is going to do this practice, one needs to have faith and confidence, but not blind faith, and not faith that is forced upon us. The practice of Satipatthana brings 7 benefits. The first of these is purity of mind. The Buddha spoke about this at the very beginning of the Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Try it and see. It's sure that these results come. So it's important to have trust. If one thinks about, is observing the rising and falling really the Dhamma? Is it really in the text? If one entertains things like this, one's practice will not be effective. So if you think that you know best, then this this attitude will get in the way. If one is not able to note something, but can't admit that to the teacher, if one doesn't know something, but pretends that what one does, all these attitudes amount to lack of honesty. So to recap, the first quality, the first three qualities that Sayadaw has just mentioned are most important. First of all, that there needs to be trust and confidence, faith, and following this, desire to get the results. Second, you should have health. And third, there should be honesty. So these are very important. And if a yogi possesses these three qualities, it is very easy for the teachers to help guide them. And when Sayadaw, having the aim, hope that you can become related as Dhamma relatives, when we're already related in 2 or 3 ways, on your side, on our side, we should be ready to accept what is being offered. So it's good if you can nurture this type of attitude. When we sit down and start to observe, we apply the mind, put the mind on the abdomen, and we try to observe every rising and falling with effort and aiming. Trying to do this is a pure and clean activity. This is a pure method. And one should want to try to develop purity. One should want to observe each rising and each falling. If one doesn't want to do this, then there won't be enough effort and there won't be enough aiming to do the practice for one's observation to develop. So it's a good thing to try to observe every rising and falling so as not to miss. And we should have the desire to do this. It's very important to have this desire. No matter what we do, if we don't have any confidence in doing something because we don't know the benefits that it brings, or knowing the benefits if we don't have the desire to get them, whatever it is we do, whatever we're interested in doing, only if we have confidence in doing it and desire to get the results that come from doing it, will we actually work at it. So we should understand this. If this foundation is good, then there will be keen effort, keen, sharp effort will result. Effort goes beyond laziness. It overcomes laziness. Effort is brave about facing difficulties. So one makes effort, filling the mind up with energy so that it won't back off. And on the other hand, aiming is also needed, because if aiming is not there, then the mind tends to contract. It retracts, withdraws, becomes cold and sluggish. This is called tinamita, sloth and torpor. And the factor of aiming overcomes sloth and torpor, tinamita. Laziness and tinamita, sloth and torpor, these are the worst enemies of the starting yogi. And therefore the Buddha instructed us, he gave the way for overcoming this enemy. He said to apply full energy to observe the object and aim the mind. And when one does so, because of the energy of virya, or ardent effort, there won't be laziness. because of aiming, there will be no sluggishness. The mind won't be contracted. So we overcome these qualities with effort and with aiming, which is the opposite of sluggishness. So for one who applies these energies, there won't be any sleepiness arising. There's a saying that as soon as the object arises, aim, make effort, and firmly observe. As soon as the rising arises, one has to apply effort and aim steadfastly. This is the yogi's one job, one and only job. As soon as the falling arises, apply effort, aim, observe steadfastly. Every rising, every falling, again and again, we have to apply effort and aim. When we walk, too, put the mind on the leg, put the attention on the leg, and as soon as the lifting arises, apply effort and aim to observe steadfastly. As soon as the moving arises, apply effort, aim, observe steadfastly. When placing, observe the placing, applying effort, aiming, and steadfast observation. When standing also, as soon as the standing is there, apply effort, aim, observe steadfastly. Whatever arises, one has to apply energy, mental energy, and aiming. That's the yogi's job. And if one keeps on doing this one job, then one will become skilled, and the pure mind will develop, and power will develop. So when results come from one's practice, then the Dhamma just pulls one along. The teachers can only point out how to practice, but when the yogi realizes the results for themselves, then realizing those results pulls the yogi along so that they continue to practice. So Sayadaw hopes that all of you understand the benefits of the practice, and having full faith and desire to obtain these, Sayadaw hopes that you will understand that when the object arises, when the rising arises, apply effort and aim to observe steadfastly. There's just this one job for the yogi, and Sayadaw hopes and urges all of you to work in this way so that in just a few days you will become like true yogis, and you will receive the admiration of all. That's all for today. Sadhu, 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 sadhu.